Yes, guys. Hello and welcome back to the Spurs-related YouTube channel and podcast. I hope everyone's doing very well today. Today, we've got another very special and seems to be very popular transfers update video. Over the last couple of days, there has been a considerable amount of news to go through. So we thought we'd bring you another 15-20-minute video update. If you do enjoy these sort of mini updates and you find them useful and enjoyable, please do smash a thumbs up on YouTube if you're watching. And if you're on podcasts, please do rate us 5-star. It means an awful lot. And of course, subscribe if you are new. Today, I'm joined alongside Andre of SpursRelated, as always, all the way from Canada. Andre, very quickly, mate, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. Some good news to share and some interesting ones as well. But, there's a big one that we're going to have to talk about straight away. But I'm doing good.
Sounds good, mate. I know you've been all over the news today and, well, not yourself, but you've been keeping up with the news. So let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into the first story, which is, of course, a big one about our, main winger, one of our main players, Heung Min Son, linked with the Saudi League. Over to you to really explain exactly what's happened there, mate.
Perfect. Yeah, so he has been linked, but the big news is actually that he has rejected Al Ittihad's bid. Well, not supposedly a bid, but the fact that they were preparing one. It was something close to a almost 50 million pound bid, maybe close to 60 with add-ons from other reports. Again, no concrete bid was made, but there were rumors that there was a sort of preparation for a bid. This past, I think, week and a half has been Saudi Arabia just coming in and just taking all these players from the Premier League, from the La Liga, from Syria. It's been crazy. And it looks like for Tottenham, they were eyeing Son, which, he's a great player regardless of what happened this season. But yeah, he rejected them, and he came out full on and said, that he still has things that he wants to do in the Premier League. It's not about the money. He has pride in playing football and playing in Tottenham, and that he's prepared to do everything he can when he comes back to Spurs. So, that's always great to see loyalty, which, sometimes it doesn't happen as often as it used to be. And I'm glad to see that still is around. But I mean, what would you expect anything less from Heung Min Son?
Absolutely not. Yeah, spot on. Exactly. He's a very loyal player to Tottenham. He undoubtedly loves the club. I think in like sort of 1-2 years, maybe it does make sense for Son to go elsewhere. We know he's not had his best season last season, but I do think a lot of that is down to the fact he was injured for so much of it. Obviously, he was interviewed and said he was playing through injury for a lot of the season, and now he's had surgery. So hope to see the Son of 2-3 years ago next season. But like you said, yeah, it's great that he's come out and stated his loyalty and is essentially saying he's at Tottenham. And don't forget that has other implications on the fact that, for example, Harry Kane, who may be tempted with a move away. I know there's not many clubs really putting in official bids, but, Kane obviously absolutely loves Son. He has a fantastic relationship with him and a fantastic partnership up front with him. And to hear that, Heung Min Son staying at a club, maybe that is a small or large factor in Harry Kane staying at the club as well next season, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I mean, Tottenham, I don't think we're considering selling him anyways. And if they were, I'm sure they would expect a lot more, but they're going to have to play it smart because Son has, I think, 2 years left on his contract. So come next year, the guy will be 30 plus. We'll see what we even get for him if we even do. Or he'll just be a player who sticks around for quite a while still and is like almost a legacy player. Sometimes it's good to have that for morale. So we'll see what happens, but that's the update on Son. That's the big one. Very good news to hear, especially because, again, and I heard that was happening this morning. I was so scared because of all the players that are leaving, right? You got people like, I think almost all the Chelsea players are leaving, right?
Conte, Koulibaly.
Yeah. So crazy to see, but good news on this end. And in terms of a little thing on Kane, we will probably do an update if we hear more, because I think I'm hearing rumors of PSG possibly doing something with that, but don't want to elaborate too much on here because at the moment it is just tier 3 type of news. So we like to stick to anything higher than that, mainly tier 1s. So let's move on to the next big sort of news that has happened, which is basically that Alistair Gold, has said that Tottenham are very much seriously monitoring Laporte. And I know that this is big news for you because you really, really want this player to come to Tottenham.
Absolutely. People are starting to call us Interest FC on Twitter. We seem to be interested and linked with every single player. How serious we are on each one remains to be seen. Obviously, Alistair Gold says we're monitoring him, but I mean, I don't think there's much monitoring to be done here. We know he's an absolutely, class centre back with a lot of experience at top level. Was a Manchester City starting centre back for many years. Obviously, got kind of shoved to the side this year through a partnership with John Stones and Ruben Dias, which is very hard to get into the side with those two. That is a formidable partnership for sure. And then you've even got like a Kanji as well. Ake's obviously been playing left back, so he's almost been turfed out the squad just because technically there's 3 or 4 better players than him. Even though he's still absolutely quality, I think he would fit incredibly in the left-sided centre-back alongside Romero. He's a much more conservative player. I think he obviously would be able to play a high line well. He's quick. And I also think, he would almost mop up when Romero decides to be a bit of a loose cannon and run forward. Left-sided player, left-footed. For me, this has to be our priority. And I think the only thing that's stopping us getting him is he's a player that is a European quality player. You should be playing Europe week in, week out. And we know that we don't have that. However, hopefully we can lure him with the package and the Ange project that, that we're trying to conjure up here. So for me, it should be a player we're bidding on. And I would not be surprised if several clubs bid on him in the coming weeks, because why wouldn't you? He's an absolutely fantastic player that's available on the market.
No, exactly. And I think I think Barcelona are one of the few clubs that are mentioned that are interested in him as well. So
Yeah.
we will be facing heavy competition, and they will have something that we don't, which is European football. But again, like you said, if we are really taking this project seriously, I'm sure that we'll be able to get something done with the promise of a really, really aspiring projects from Postecoglou.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens here. Hopefully we'll have more updates for you on Laporte. The next thing, though, is that talking about center backs, Guehi interest has grown. We are continuing to keep an eye on him. But of course, I feel like out of all the center backs that we've been looking at, this is one that I know Jack was really keen on. Maybe not us so much. The only thing that Tottenham are worried about is that Crystal Palace would ask for a lot of money for him. So I don't know if that'd
Yeah,
be worth
this is going to be at least 50 million, right? Minimum. So, I mean, you've got the English tax on top of that. We all understand that English players in the Premier League go for a lot more because it ticks the homegrown quota, and obviously it's just become a bit of a pricing thing with these players. We looked back 5-6 years ago at John Stones being 50 million, and people just completely couldn't believe that was even a fee. And now you look at it and you think, wow, amazing buy there. John Stones is worth more than £50 million now. And yeah, I mean, 50 million for Marc Guehi, I think it would be an overpriced buy. I think he is a solid player, but I'm just really not sure we should be getting a player for that much money. I think we need a more established player, and Aymeric Laporte completely overwrites any sort of ability this guy has with his experience. Aymeric Laporte, I think, is a better player, and he's far, far more experienced. So for me, we have to be going for the more experienced, ready now players to go alongside Romero. We can't, we for all we know, we could go for a younger player as well for the bench. But we also have a couple of good centre backs coming for our academy, like Alfie Dorrington. I think he could be our 4th or 5th choice centre back this year. And I also think, we've got to remember, obviously, we've got Romero, but Davinson Sanchez is probably off. Eric Dyer, not heard too much on him, but you'd assume that he's either going to be on the fringes or off as well. So we're going to need at least 2 centre-backs here. So I don't think we're going to get the likes of a Guehi and a Laporte, but maybe we get a Guehi or Laporte plus a younger player that's going to be developing in the squad, playing the cup games and coming in when there's an injury, right? So
Yeah.
I would prefer Laporte as the main buy, but let's obviously see what happens. Like I said, Interest FC, we seem to be growing with interest with every centre back that's available right now or potentially available. So yeah, guys, let us know in the comments what you think. And we've obviously discussed centre back options before, but for me, I would go with the more experienced option.
Yeah, well said. But just in case those two don't work out, Tottenham are keeping Max Kilman as well as an option from Wolves. Decent season overall, even on a team that hasn't been performing very well. I think it would just be a matter of what kind of price they ask for him, to be honest. Just like you said with Guehi, same thing. I feel like it'd be overpriced for the type of player you're getting. And if you're going to pay that kind of money, you might as well go for the big one. But this is
Yeah.
an option that Tottenham are also looking at.
Exactly. Yeah, not much more to cover about Kilman. We've mentioned him in other videos. I know some of the Spurs relatables are big fans of him, and others are saying that it would be, 50 million, way too much for a player that does have good characteristics in his game, but he just lacks. I feel he lacks experience, especially at a high level, and he's solid for Wolves. I feel like the Wolves fans do enjoy him, but I just don't see him being. I just could see not another Eric Dyer, but sort of in between. Like, he's not going to set the world alight, but he's also not going to be as bad as Eric Dyer. But then we want to be properly upgrading Dyer and Sanchez, not just slightly upgrading them. That's just my opinion. I know a lot of people rate Kilman very highly, but I guess you've got to consider the English tax on top of that and the price that comes with that. So, we could mention centre backs every single video all day, but I know there's a lot of people's opinions that we should be going abroad for an Ibanez type player or in Capier. But for me, Kilman is down on my level of who I would want the most. But hey, it's each to everyone, and I know that everyone has a different opinion on this.
Oh, no, exactly. And I think a lot of it, too, is you have to be realistic with the fact that for all the center backs we get rid of, we need to bring in just as much, probably.
Exactly.
So we can't be sitting there thinking we need to get rid of almost all our defenders and you leave just Romero and now we have to sign a bunch of new ones. I personally think, outside of the actual news that we're doing right now, my opinion is going to be that I think Tanganga will probably stay. They'll give him one more season, one more chance to see how he does as a backup center back, and they'll probably make one marquee center back signing, and then maybe keep Davies or something since he can be used as a left back or a center back, and then Dyer and Sanchez will probably head out. That's my prediction, but we'll see what happens. Options everywhere, Interest FC. But speaking of that, this is what I don't like seeing is that we seem to be doing the Interest FC with Maddison because Newcastle are going to try again for Maddison. They're obviously they had, I think there was a bid that was going to be made, and then Newcastle put a specific price tag on him. Both Tottenham and Newcastle are sort of they've got their radar on a fee that's way too low for what they want, but we haven't actually made an official bid yet, which really bothers me. This one's for Fabrizio, that they're going to try again within this week. So we'll see what happens. We could lose out to Newcastle, even with reports saying that Maddison would be keen on a Tottenham move because of personal reasons, maybe in terms of where we would have to move. But yeah, I mean, if Newcastle is meeting the quota and is actually shooting their shot, then, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, as you said at the end there, he's keen on a move to London apparently, as opposed to up north. Prefers the lifestyle, and you can understand that. But I think Newcastle is a more attractive club right now. If I'm taking my bias hat off, so it'd be interesting to see what Newcastle do bid. For me, I can really see him going to Newcastle over Tottenham. I think it would make complete sense for him. But let's see what happens. Hopefully, Tottenham put in a bid and actually do something rather than just saying they're interested in Maddison, because we're not putting in bids for players. The transfer window's been open, a week now? Like, it's not August the 30th, so we're not putting bids in. Do you know what I mean? Like, we always have to wait till the end of the window to actually do something, it seems. And that frustrates the life out of me. But I know we've got something coming up in a minute that's going to make me more frustrated. So I'm going to save my emotions for that point.
For sure, for sure. And I mean, don't forget, none beyond the point that we will make a little bit later for a specific type of news. They did also work on the Kulusevski deal, right? They had their hands tied on other things. So I think your point, I will be much more on board with that if a week passes by and nothing has been done about Maddison, and then he heads off to Newcastle and we didn't even put a bid. So we'll see what happens. But another big news is that Hojbjerg is remaining open about his future. There's been reports that there are a lot of clubs that are interested in him. And we have discussed in the past how maybe he might not fit Postecoglou's system. So it's not surprising to hear that there's been sort of this openness about what's next for Hojbjerg. He's, when he has been asked about it, he has said that he's just focused on the international matches and that he can't really say much about his future. So that's some interesting news. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, just very quickly. I mean, I think I mentioned it in another video. I feel like Hojbjerg's probably one of our most valuable assets in terms of what the value we could sell him a player for is. Like I can't think of many other players other than Kane and Son that really ramp up a value that's maybe Romero that ramp up a value that Hojbjerg would be. I think Hojbjerg is sort of at an age still where he could be quite an attractive player for the likes of a Bayern Munich who are apparently interested. So, he's been there before. Um, I could see him going for genuinely like at least 30 mil, So if he's not part of Ange's plans, then potentially we'll look at selling him on.
Yeah, it's good to see. Obviously, I've always been an advocate for him. I actually think that he's underrated, but like I always said, if he doesn't fit a system, sell them before they lose their value. That's just how the market goes. So if he doesn't fit the system and Postecoglou is okay with him heading out, make your money and use that money elsewhere. It's time to go. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep you guys updated on what happens with Hojbjerg. But moving on to the next one, another big thing is Postecoglou looks like he is actually a big fan of Porro. It's happy to see. I mean, we play a high line. He needs someone who's fast, who's willing to attack. My concern would just be what he does defensively, as we saw this season.
Yeah, exactly. How is he going to fit in right back? Potentially, that's the issue here. His defensive ability has a question mark over it. We know how good he is going forward. He's picked up a few goals and a few assists, but unfortunately, when you're a right back and you're playing in this inverted fullback system, you're going to have to do some defending as well. So let's see what happens. Let's see where he fits in, and be interesting to see how he fits into a 4 at the back as opposed to a 5 at the back, right?
No, exactly. And, sometimes if he has to play a bit defensive and move some stuff around, we have heard reports that he would be a pretty good right mid. So for all you know, he plays in a more midfield role when we're on a defensive sort of side after maybe we've scored some goals and we're just trying to keep that, score line. So we'll see what happens. But it's good to hear that certain players that we've just spent a lot of money on, Postecoglou is all for it. So good to
Yep.
hear. But the bad news now, the big one, it looks like Raya deal has hit a stall. It seems like on one end, you've got Raya who's coming out saying he's got big ambitions beyond Brentford, but the club needs to let him go, right? But then on the other side, you also have the idea that Tottenham don't want to spend 40 million pounds on a player who has 12 months left on his contract. Again, player talks, all that stuff, all that is in agreement already. Raya is good to come to Tottenham. It's the fact that the clubs are not meeting on a price. It's very, very hard to see. I mean, Brentford's already signed Mark Flecken apparently as a replacement. But again, I mean, because of the 12 months is why Daniel Levy is really sticking to his guns about not paying 40 million. So I don't know. What do you think? Should the hassle be this much?
You can write the book with Tottenham. Every single time we're close to signing a player, there's always some other club that comes in because we're messing around with, not pennies, but a few million, which in this market is the equivalent of a few pounds. Like, how can you get to a situation where you've had personal terms agreed with a player? You're literally about to sign a very, very good keeper that's going to be your keeper for 10 plus years. He's 27 years old. Yes, I agree he's probably not worth 40 million because he's got 12 months left on his contract. However, is he worth 30 to 35 million? I would say so. So then why are we then not being quick at making a deal, whether that's 37, 38 million pounds, getting it over the line before the likes of a Man United come along and go, actually, we've got new owners coming in. We've got the funds. We'll give you 40 million pounds, Brentford. Bang. And suddenly Raya's brought over to a different project. He's got his eyes set on a Champions League team, and he's completely just ghosted Tottenham. And that's because of what's going up on above. We're not getting the deals done, and we've seen it time and time again at Tottenham. Jack Grealish, Ruben Dias, Bruno Fernandes. I could name so many more players that we've missed out on because we've almost agreed terms with a player and we've been messing around with the value of a few million pounds. And that is what makes me so angry with Tottenham is we should have had a world-class team right now. We should have not just 2 or 3 world-class players in our team. We should have 7 or 8. We've scattered these players. The last one was Luis Diaz. He went to Liverpool. Yes, he would have been offered a much better package. But again, we were probably messing around with millions of pounds. But when I say millions of pounds, I mean £3 or £4 million. And then guess what? The value of the player grows. We could have got Jack Grealish for 30 something million like 5-6 years ago. And now the guy's worth 100 million. It baffles me why we're still talking about this at Tottenham, where the club just doesn't get the things done properly in the transfer window and then leaves it to the last minute and gets second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth choice players. I'm sick of it. And without getting too emotional about it, I hope we get this over the line because, it's not complete concrete that it's fallen over, but it is concerning me. I said this to you, Andre, offline. Why is it taking so long to get this deal over the line? We've been talking about Raya for almost a month now. How many more days, how many more weeks does this go on before another club just comes and sidesteps us and takes the player away? I can see it happening. I hope it doesn't happen. But when will we learn from these mistakes?
No, I agree. And, it's sad to see because when you mention all these players, I'm just flashing back to hearing seeing them go on quotes on record, these players that we didn't get say that they were keen to come to Tottenham, right? Bruno Fernandes was like, I would love to come to Tottenham. Dybala was also like open to come to Tottenham, and we messed it up right at the end. Skriniar was open to it. We had so many players that could have been part of our squad who were very much ready to be a Tottenham player, and now they're somewhere else in other projects being successful. Meanwhile, we don't even have European football now. And I think that a player of Raya's skill, we should be doing our best to get that signing. And I really hope that Tottenham gets this over the line sooner rather than later. I know Daniel Levy likes to play with the whole paying with in different installments and trying to cut a few millions off, but we'll see what happens. We will keep you guys updated on this one. Again, it's only that it's hit a stall. It's not done or it hasn't fallen through. It's just updates now from Alistair Gold saying that on both sides, both the club and the player, there's just some frustration on trying to get this one over the line. But hopefully the next update we give you on this guy will be that we got him. But only time will tell.
Yep, exactly. And the last thing I'd say on that is even Jack Grealish's father said that he was literally ready to join Tottenham, and then the club didn't basically give Aston Villa what they wanted. And then 1-2 seasons later, he goes to Manchester City. He's won a Champions League, several Premier Leagues. Clubs are bigger than us. There's clubs that are much bigger than us. So if we're in a position where we've agreed personal terms with a player that's very, very good, that's much better than our current keeper options, and is on the top of our wish list, because I don't think there's many other keepers that are above Raya on the wish list, why don't we just get it done? Why do we then have to scratch our heads 2, 3, 4 years down the line and go, why didn't we get that Raya for 40 million? He's now worth 60, 70. I just do not understand it. It winds me up all the time when I think about it, how many players we should have at Tottenham that could have got us over the line and got us to win a title or got us to a top 4 finish every single season. It's just you just sit there and you think you can just see it now where we somehow mess up and we don't have a starting keeper next year. We've got Fraser Forster starting again. I reckon I'll come back to this video and it will happen. Genuinely, that's how much faith I have in this board of getting things done properly. We've made some good signings in the last few years, but I would say we've made a lot more bad signings. And that's a factor because we don't get our first and second choices through before other clubs come and swipe us for them. It's as simple as that. And I'm not saying it's easy to run a football club. I'm not saying it's easy to just, conjure up another 5 million. But what I am saying is get it done before we have regrets every single window without fail. Without fail.
That's very true. Well said, though. Honestly, I got nothing more to say on that, or I'm going to get upset.
Yeah. It's gone over a little bit over 20 minutes, probably because I got a bit heated there. But guys, if you did enjoy this transfers update, it's ended on a bit of a dampener. So let's end it on a bit of a positive note and smash the thumbs up. Help this channel. We really appreciate the support at the moment. Our channel is growing day by day, week by week, and we appreciate all the new Spurs relatables. If you do want to support the channel in any way, there is the membership option to join. I think you can do it for £2, and there's super chats. But feel free to comment for free as well in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on all these transfer updates. Andre, great job on the news as always, mate.
No problem, man. I'm always excited to talk about transfer news, whether it's good or bad. But of course, it really sucks that we had to end on such a sour note, but you guys make it worth it.
Exactly. And I'm sure it'll cause talking points in the comments. I love reading them. I reply to every single one. So please do get your comments in, smash the thumbs up. And as always, guys, remember, come on, you Spurs! Sort out this transfer window.